Hey everybody, it's Nick and Jay. We're back from Gingerman Raceway and the first ever Rust Belt GP presented by AutoWeek. Now, everybody who races in the Midwest knows we can do the race in the spring, in the summer, in the winter, in the fall, and the weather will
Does not matter.
always suck in some way or another. That's why my mother moved to California from Detroit, Michigan the first time she had the chance and has not been back since. That notwithstanding, for the first time, this was like 80 degrees and pleasant. It was awesome.
Now, obviously, what the name of that race means is that our friends at AutoWeek were the sponsor of this event. Not only did they show up, they sent a couple of reporters, Jake and Jimmy. They were awesome. And we got a little bit of shit from Don over at Car and Driver, Don Sherman. He sent an email like, "What, they are not even building their race car. That is very automotive journalist. Like, how can they hold their head up high?" Okay, well, first of all, this is from a dude who's like, last 8 races were in a professionally built BMW.
Yeah, that blew up.
that blew up a bunch of times. And second of all, you know what all the teams that these guys drove with said? Hey man, those guys were great. They didn't touch any cars. They didn't speed in the pits. They were awesome. So I'm just saying, AutoWeek, not bad.
And of course, this being the Rust Belt GP in the heart of the Rust Belt, there was a bunch of real iron oxide afflicted American cars, including, but not limited to, 2 Chevy Camaros, 2 Pontiac Grand Prix, several Ford Focus, Saturn's Neons, a Chevy HHR.
Well, I believe that the PT Cruiser is sort of a corny affectation for people who are trying to relive a time that never existed.
A Cutlass Sierra S, and a Chevy Blazer that burst into flames. Now we're really gonna need a name that captures the essence of what this vehicle is.
Sir, in hot weather testing, this car's burst into flames 75 times out of 100. We just can't call it the Blazer, can we?
We already have 60 gross of those name badges in the warehouse. They're on pallets right now.
Blazer. I like the sound of that.
Okay.
Hella sweet was this bribe. You know the internet meme that you can never find the 10mm wrench when you need it. This was just an entire toolbox full of 10mm.
The official potluck for this race was hosted by the aptly named Rust Belt Racing. There was a DJ, tons of food, and best of all, a concours for Hot Wheels versions of everyone's Lemons cars. We had several entries into that, and each one of them was just amazing.
Yeah, it was like a $5 donation to charity to enter the Hot Wheels Concours, and they raised like $200.
And speaking of the official return of Stuntin' and Splodin', we've really seen an increase in the number of totally sweet pit vehicles.
But terrible Unit 32 and their Jetta. Last year they turbocharged their VR6 because they were going to dominate. It blew up after 2 laps. This year they didn't work on that. They just added active aero, and that made a huge difference when after 2 laps their VR6 blew up again.
Also but terrible was this Mustang team from Wisconsin. They blew up their engine on Friday, spent the better part of Saturday swapping it in. When they finally got out on a track, it smoked horribly, but didn't run badly enough to prevent them from getting a whole bunch of black flags. It was just kind of a systematic failure.
Hella sweet, this rookie team with a Civic that they bought from a woman because her husband had just gotten his 5th DUI.
Save the Tatas. You guys know them as perennial contenders for the overall win. We're not in contention this time thanks to a whole bunch of black flags. One of the penalties they got was to recreate this exploded drawing of a Chevy Vega transmission, and amazingly, their mechanic did a pretty incredible job in matching this diagram. Now, I gotta say, maybe the mechanic should do more of the driving.
But terrible Team Sheen former winners. They rolled up with their hot Integra, and Judge Eric said, well, I got to give you some penalty laps, you know, just to even out the field here. And he said, as long as you guys haven't, I don't know, turboed it or something, I'll just give you the usual number of penalty laps. He opened it up. They had totally added a turbo to the car. They were trying to camouflage it. Eric said, you know what? I'm going to give you fewer penalty laps because you are hella going to burst into flame. And the team was like, yeah, we are going to dominate. We have beat the system. This is awesome. And guess what happened?
Now, normally we don't mention overall winners on these things, but this time, because it was a 78 Toyota Celica, we kind of have to. Of course, I'm talking about Apocalyptic Racing. They've been around Lemons for some time. They started out with the original Toyota 20R engine, which at one point they tried to repair by patching a hole in the block with a license plate. They've had nothing but issues over the years. They finally said, we're gonna solve this by putting in a Chevy Ecotec 4-cylinder, thereby making the car a toilet. Oats.
Toilet.
And amazingly, over the last couple of years, it's been kind of fast. And we're like, well, what's it gonna do? Win overall? And sure enough, it did. That was hella sweet.
Another kind of shocking winner was Class B, licensed to ill. This is this S10 Boomin' mini pickup truck that Jesse Cortez has been running on the West Coast. He sent it back to the Midwest, loaned it to some friends for right out of the gate. Domination.
The heroic fix went to the VW Jetta of Aliens Exist!
Exclamation point.
They were driving along, minding their own business, and a rookie team just wiped out in front of them and cleaned off the whole front of their Jetta, destroying the radiator in the process. Rookie team felt bad and actually helped them find a replacement, which they bolted on, and of course it didn't fit. They found another one, it leaked like crazy. They figured, we'll just run it like that. Engine overheated, it was kind of knocking, and they figured, this is probably the end of the day. And they were about to load it up, and they said, let's try one more radiator. And they did, and inexplicably, the car ran flawlessly on Sunday.
I Got Screwed went to the heel and toe failures. This was a rookie team. They showed up. They were kind of flawless. Car ran, car passed tech, they got out on track, they stayed out of trouble, they were clicking laps off, they weren't bugging anybody. Finally, the checkered flag is in sight. It's Sunday, they're bringing it on home. This is the greatest rookie debut ever. Clang! They totally got run over by the leading MR2 for no reason whatsoever. Punted off the track, they're done, car totaled, all over, no checkered flag for you. They got screwed.
The Speedy Cop Memorial, parentheses, but he's not actually dead, Life of the Paddock Party Award went to Dirty Mike and the boys. Now, we like these guys because they spend all of the weeks leading up to the race existing on social media, talking trash about their local competition. And they brought a big bin to the track inexplicably marked Speed Secrets. It was actually filled with giant foam boobs that they passed out to all of their competition so that their competition could be as awesome as them. Now, Dirty Mike's actual race car is a V8 RX-7 that kind of sucks, frankly. But we love their attitude. They got the trophy.
I want to know, where does one get a bin full of foam boobs?
Sir, I've got some bad news. I've got a warehouse full of Takata airbags that we can't get rid of.
Well, what are we gonna do? Dispose of them responsibly?
Special award for this race was the Spirit of Entropy. It went to Pacific Motors and their Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith.
Why, you ruined classic.
This is a car that is, of course, powered by a Dodge Viper V10 engine.
$500 to my ass.
And needless to say, this car, it never works, it never runs, but it looks absolutely spectacular. For the third time in a row, they blew up their indestructible Viper V10 engine, and the guy just said, I can't do this anymore. You guys tell me next time what kind of engine you want. I'm suggesting a flathead V860. We'll see whether he does that or not. Regardless, in honor of the Spirit of Ecstasy, which represents the Rolls-Royce gliding down the road in majestic silence, we gave it the Spirit of Entry because this thing doesn't even get out of the goddamn pits.
Hey, I ruined that classic.
You know what makes Lemons judges happy? Bringing a Cadillac CTS.
The Cadillac Touring Sedan.
Is that what it stands for?
It should.
Now, these guys for years had run a Honda Civic that had been wrecked and sort of rebuilt, but finally through several Lemons races, it had lost too much of its original structural integrity to pass tech anymore. So they went online and they found an Opel V6 powered Cadillac with a 5-speed. We figured this thing would run for about 10 minutes and die a slow, undiagnosable death from various electrical issues, but that thing ran all weekend.
More or less. Organizer's choice went to Monkey Paw Racing and their rust-colored Opel GT.
Honey, that ain't color.
This car showed up with a blown head gasket. Personally, I think it has had a blown head gasket probably for the entire season.
I think it was sold new with a blown head gasket.
It was probably sold new with a blown head gasket. Regardless, hey, if this were me, it's just a head gasket. It's a 4-cylinder at one point. I would take the head off and I would change the head gasket. No, they had a better idea. So they were pouring water in this thing about every 30 minutes. They said, we know, we're going to put a giant water reservoir like an aquarium on top of the roof with a garden hose, and it's going to go into our overflow, and then we'll be able to just dump water on top of the car. And what we said was, hey, we've got an idea. Let's not spill 15 gallons of water in every corner as you're driving around. You can't do that. Okay, we'll just keep pouring water in. And that is what they did. They never gave up. The car actually finished reasonably well in the standings for a car that didn't run. Well done, guys.
And the final trophy was a double one. It was the Lemons Grand Prize, the Index of Effluency, and the AutoWeek Grand Prize, which was for the most Rust Belt ass car at the AutoWeek Rust Belt GP.
And it quite a high standard.
It sure is. and it went to Team Shell Shock and their 76 AMC Gremlin. Now, these guys are no dummies. They gave up on the factory AMC V8 a long time ago and swapped in a Chevy small block from a Caprice. Now, you would think in Lemons that a Chevy small block would run flawlessly. But instead, they spent the whole weekend frying alternators, cooking different parts of their wiring, and generally having an awful time. Now, it turns out that maybe the AMC rejects the Chevy the way a bad blood donor rejects the wrong blood type. You know, come to think of it, the AMC will reject an AMC engine in much the same way. In any case, this thing is abjectly terrible, and it handles like a drunk pig on a steep hill, but it still beat a bunch of other much better on paper cars, and it was well deserving of the double top honors.
I'm exhausted. Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Shit!